Welcome back to Axio Social. My name is John, and we are in the middle of a series breaking down the different communication channels available to your church. The channel that we're breaking down today is printed materials. So this is going to be any physical thing that is created or printed in your church. Let's dive into it. Let's start with the pros. The first pro for printed materials is guaranteed deliverability. Now, what do I mean by this? If it is a flyer or something that you're handing to somebody because you're physically placing it in their hands, you can guarantee that they got that information. You cannot really guarantee deliverability with any of the other communication channels that we've got. Email, you could get spam filters. Texting, they might accidentally delete it. Paid ads, same way. Social media, you can't guarantee that at all. This is one of the very few communication channels that you could technically guarantee delivery if you go through the effort of physically placing the item into the hands of your church member. The second pro for printed materials is that it's possible for them to be permanent. So I want you thinking about the signs in your building would be kind of fall into this category. You can put it up once, you can pay for it once, and it could live there forever if you really wanted it to. Now, you should probably be updating these on a somewhat regular basis, but you're not having to redo this work over and over and over again like you would with social media content or an email newsletter that you're sending out every week. You do it once, and theoretically, if you do it right and it looks good, it could be done for a very long time. All right, let's shift gears and talk about the cons. The first con for printed materials is a limited amount of space. Whether it is a poster that you're putting on a wall, a bulletin, or a flyer that you're handing out, there is only so much information that will fit on that physical piece of paper. And if you try and cram more in there, the text just gets too small and you can't quite read what it says. You're limited in how you design it based on that. The physical dimensions limit how much information you're going to be able to put on that printed piece of material. Our second and final con is that there's a really high cost per item. So whether it's signage in your building or even brochures that you're handing out or the connect cards in the back of your seat, more so than other digital communication channels, these are expensive, right? There's a cost every time you're handing out one of these items or printing out one of these posters to put up into your building. So how would I recommend that you use printed materials and the overall communication strategy for your church? Now, I think signage should be really, really important to your overall strategy. You need for a new visitor to be able to come to your church and find their way around. You've probably gone there for a very long time, so you know where the restrooms are, you know where the sanctuary is at, you know where to get the coffee or where to drop your kids off. But if it's your first time coming into the building, you don't know any of that. So unless you've got the best welcome team on the planet, most people likely are going to really lean on the signage that you're putting up on the walls to find their way around your building. So if you've been at your same church for a really, really long time, you might invite somebody that hasn't been to your church to walk around with you and ask them like, hey, how would you find where to drop your kids are at? They're going to see it through their eyes as, not familiar with your building, which can sometimes be hard for us to do since we've gone to our churches likely for a long time. Another thing to consider for printed materials or building signage would be to use it to communicate your church's culture rather than specific events or, calendar items that might be coming up, because your culture is likely not changing very often, or at least not very quickly. So you can spend a little bit more money kind of per display item if what you're communicating is your church culture. That can be a really cool tool to communicate to new visitors, who you are, what's important to you, what are you about? Especially if you've got, people visiting your church that are more introverted, they're going to be less likely to interact with your welcome team or talk with the pastor. Some of these different pieces of artwork and signage in your building can go a long way to communicating what the culture is like at your church. So what did I miss? How do you use printed materials at your church? If you've got a unique way that you use either flyers, bulletins, signage, anything like that, leave it in a comment down below so that we can learn from each other. That's it for today's video. Make sure and check out the other videos in this series. There'll be links to them in the description below. And if you'd like to learn more about my company, Axio Social, the services that we offer, helping churches grow one visitor at a time, there will be links in the description to our website where you can find out more. That's it for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it. See you next time.